Great. Well, continuing on the topic of succeeding, what are some of the biggest mistakes that first-time entrepreneurs make?
I think analysis paralysis, slowing down. Like if you, like Hayley, you had this in your head, you just went for it, right? And test your theories and go for it.
I think under-analysis is another major problem. Like, how big is the market really? Like, I have this that we talk about in my company, like pain math, where you literally, you look at the actual funnel and you really abstract any magic that you're secretly holding on to, like, oh yeah, and then press will result in this thing blowing up.
And a miracle happens.
Yeah, it's like, I think that it's ironic because on the one hand, I think a lot, if you're creating a consumer company, I think magic ends up being the driving factor very often. There's something about it that's just magical. Instagram, Birchbox, I think there's something that you couldn't predict that drives profound word of mouth growth. But at the same time, if you don't have a market that's large enough and you don't really understand your customer acquisition dynamics, you don't really understand your funnel and do the math and really think about churn profoundly, then you're going to end up looking at a situation where you're like, oh, there's no way this can possibly work. So on the one hand, I think you have to embrace magic, and that's kind of like no analysis, more like just build something unbelievable that people fall in love with. And on the other hand, I think you need to be relentless about realism and pragmatism and not making up sort of magical sources of success that don't exist. If combining those two things is very hard, I think, but essential.
I think one of the mistakes I made definitely was just thinking I could do it all. Like, I was someone who had enough experience in enough of these areas. I'm like, sure, I could do this. And I didn't really think about, like, comparative advantage and recognizing that, like, it made sense. Luckily, I have a co-founder, so we really just split our roles and split our tasks as to where we're really good. And it's being also comfortable with saying, like, okay, I could do this mediocre, but I'm fine with knowing that someone can do it better on my team. And I think, again, often with MBAs, there's a lot of ego sometimes attached to that. Just being like, listen, he's better at marketing. He's better at press. Let him run with it. And being fine with that and actually set us both up for more success. But I think, especially when it's your baby, you kind of want all that control and you want to do it all. And realizing that it just doesn't scale and it's not really a feasible thing.
But you have to have trust. Right?
Trust is huge. Yeah. Marriage contract. As a side, I'll highly recommend Noam Wasserman's Founder's Dilemma book. My co-founder and I went through 162 questions of what we would do if and when X happened.
Wow.
Amazing.
It's a great resource.
We do have a prenup.
Amazing.
I think one mistake I see often is because of the preponderance of venture capital news in the technology ecosystem explicitly, that people think that raising capital is easy and that every business should be venture capital backed. There's a whole host of very interesting ideas that can be started via a bank loan, via a friends and family offering, as opposed to professional, pretty ruthless venture capitalists who are good at their job for a reason. They say no most of the time. So I think people underestimate how difficult that process is, and so get their companies financed in the wrong way. And then I think what's been reiterated here is that oddly, sometimes people don't take the same level of discipline to selecting their teammates as they do to the idea. And so I think making sure if you can't hypothesize another set of people that you should have started the company with, I wonder how thoroughly you've thought through this particular co-founder or early employee that you've hired. I think you need to meet a lot of people in order to really gain certainty that you've picked the right team.
Yeah, so all of these, I need to answer the question or else people will think I haven't made mistakes. So all of these things really resonate with me, and I think just being comfortable with the idea that mistakes happen every day or every hour at startups is really important. You just have to get more things right than you get wrong. And I will throw one more into the bucket, which is the idea of focus. I think it's really hard when you're starting a company to have the discipline to stay focused on the problem that you're solving and to recognize that you have to say no to a ton of things in order to be successful at the thing you set out to do. And that was, hard for me and my co-founder when we started, but something that we've learned over time.
I love what you said. Do more things right than you do wrong.
Yeah, but you have to do things wrong too, right?
That's
It's part of the learning process.
Yeah, I actually think that failing is probably the most important driver of success for individuals and inside of companies. If you build your processes such that your failures yield the smartest possible next move, then I think you created this culture of perpetual improvement that's really powerful. And so then people are constantly setting up all of their actions not with this like fear of failure, which is limiting to risk taking, but instead with intelligence about, I want to set this up so that I learn from it and my next move is doubly smart. That's such a better culture for product building, for marketing, for testing and so forth, than one where you're trying to like hit milestones and make it each time and then it's either success or failure. That's like a very different kind of structure, and one that's much more waterfall and I think is much more prone to failure.